What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here. Welcome back to Premier League Weekend Reviews. We are week 2 now. 10 games to go through. Just finished watching the Everton-Man City game for Monday night. Let's get into it. So, obviously, like I said last week, I'm going to look at it. I'm biased, obviously, like you can see behind me. I'm a Chelsea fan, so a lot of you may say that makes my decisions biased, but I am looking this as neutral as possible. If you want to see a biased review, go watch my Chelsea reviews because I look at it from a fan point of view. But anyway, on to the games. First one to kick it all off, Swansea versus Man U at Liberty Stadium. Both teams coming into this with something to prove. Man U coming in saying we need to prove that we are title contenders. Swansea coming in saying we need to get something out of this game to prove that we are able to contend and be safe from relegation. Based on the result, it does look like, okay, Man U are obviously favorites right now, and Swansea look like they're in trouble. But I watched most of the game. I missed like the last 15 minutes, and so it was 1-0 up until the last 10 minutes. Based on that, you got to say, unlucky for Swansea to lose by this much. And I mean, you could say, I don't really know because I didn't get to see the goals, but based on what I saw throughout most of the game, and Swansea worked their butts off. You got to imagine those 3 goals at the end came from just being dead tired. Just the exhaustion from having to work the entire game, managing to hold off Man U for the most part. I mean, they did work really hard, and they even created a few really good chances. One in particular, IU was in on goal in the first half, catches De Gea out, bounces off the underside of the crossbar, but back out, and Abraham's just right there, nearly gets it. On another day, he may get there just in time to tap it in. So, you look at that, you look at the fact that Pogba didn't get a second yellow when he probably should have. I mean, they were unlucky to have to go and lose 4-0 after all of that. They were right there, right on the precipice. They give one away right at the end of the first half. It's unlucky for them. So I think based on that, obviously Man U still look like favorites so far, but don't take anything away from Swansea. I think they put in enough of a performance to say they're going to probably be okay this season. They just got to gel a little bit more as a team. But going back to the Pogba should have been a second yellow instance, that's another reason why I look at Man U and say probably going to win the title this year, because you look at the rest of the top teams, and aside from Liverpool and Tottenham, the other team, Chelsea, Arsenal, Man City, all of them suffered this weekend from poor referee calls. Obviously, Chelsea suffered last week from poor referee calls as well, but it's something that happens to these teams. But you never see it happen to Man U. I can't think of any game where I go back and think, Man U probably a bit unlucky if the referees were a bit better today. I never think that. If anything, it's normally the other way around. I normally think Man U got lucky today with that referee being bad in their favor. And Pogba not getting a second yellow is just another example of that. So I'm not calling conspiracy or that the refs love Man U or anything, but it does generally happen that way for some reason. Whatever the reason is, maybe the referee's just going with a bit of a biased mindset. I don't know what it is, but for whatever reason, they do normally get generally a generous helping from the referee, and that's another reason why they look like going to be title favorites this year. So, on to the next game, Southampton versus West Ham. West Ham obviously very unlucky to go down to 10 men. Arnautovic, stupid, going in, arms flailing right at the guy's face. But the fact that they came back from being 2-0 down, drew, and made it 2-2, I mean, shows they've got the fight back. And Chicharito got both of the goals. He's showing he's got the quality to still compete at this level. I will say he's still a striker who's very good at poaching. He's not a striker that's going to do it on his own. So somebody needs to create for him, and then he needs to be in the right place at the right time. Generally is. But I think he's starting to find that again. He's starting to find those runs again, and I think his teammates are helping him as well. So, like I said last week, I think they just need to start gelling more as a team, and once you get into the season, I think they'll be okay. It's just these first 2 games have been difficult for them. They've struggled, and giving away a late penalty is unlucky for them. Southampton, though, a win for them is a good start. I still expect them to just be about mid-table, not really light the league on fire, but not do poorly this year where they'll be in relegation. So, on to the next game, Liverpool, Crystal Palace. Liverpool eke out a 1-0 win. Honestly, it's poor from Liverpool. I mean, Crystal Palace are a team that lost 3-0 to Huddersfield last week, and then you are playing at home, and you only managed to get 1 goal. I mean, that kind of shows, and this is just another reason why they're probably trying to hold on to Coutinho as much as possible, because that's why they're not as creative without Coutinho. They don't have the quality up there. Salah, he's very fast, but he's not creative. Firmino, very fast, not really creative. Mane's strong and fast, but not creative. They just don't have a player up there who's clever like Coutinho is. So if they lose him, I see them really struggling to even break into the top four this year. I see them just around Europa League, because they'll do fine against lower teams sometimes, but I don't see them competing for a Champions League spot unless they manage to hold on to Coutinho, and unless he and Mane can stay fit for most of this year. It's going to be difficult for them. But Crystal Palace, this 2 losses in a row. Obviously, losing to Liverpool is not a huge thing. It's not a big deal. But the fact that Benteke's not scoring, the fact that they're not scoring at all, is a bit worrying for them. I assume changes are going to be made soon, but they're a team that were on the drop last year, and this year looks like they haven't improved a whole lot. They did sign a couple of youngsters from Chelsea and Man U, and Loftus-Cheek and Fosu-Mensah. If they're not performing well, I'm not able to watch. Well, actually, I just missed this game, so I don't know if they're performing well and the rest of the team just isn't stepping up. But something's got to change, because 2 losses in a row to start off the season for a club who was already pretty poor last year is something that's probably going to be worrying for a lot of fans and cause a lot of frustration and nervousness as they get closer to the relegation battle. So unless they can pull themselves up in the next couple games, I see them really battling relegation this year. Leicester 2 over Brighton. Leicester's looking good at the beginning of the season so far. Vardy is stepping up, Okazaki stepping up. Maguire got himself a goal in this game as well. They look like they're back to the quality that we saw a couple years ago when they won the title. It's just obviously the other top teams have stepped up. So that year it was like all the top teams struggled. Leicester did well. They were consistent, and so they went on to win it. This year they'll probably do well, but the top teams are the top teams, and it's going to be hard to catch them. So I do see them hanging out right around mid-table, no threat of relegation, maybe even if they're lucky, challenging for a Europa League spot. But as for Brighton, that's 2 losses in a row. The first week I thought they were unlucky, to start off against Man City at home. They had a few chances that they couldn't convert. I don't know. This is the second week in a row that it's a 2-0 loss for them. They're not able to score. Unless they can start putting some goals in, they're going to really struggle this season. And if you can't score against Leicester, not that Leicester's a bad team or a bad back line or anything, but they do typically concede a couple goals here and there. Arsenal put 4 in on them the first week. So you can kind of see where Brighton, that seems to be their biggest problem. 2 goals against Man City, 2 goals against Leicester against them. It's not that bad. Both teams are very good in the attack. But if you're not able to put it in yourself, there's nothing you can do. So, yeah, unless they can pick themselves up, I see them really struggling this year as well. Burnley and West Brom. Burnley kind of brought back down to reality this week with a home loss. I think they did have a very good home record last year. I know on the road they lost almost all of their games. But to lose here, and especially against West Brom, who, in my opinion, obviously they start off typically pretty well, but I haven't really seen much from them in the summer transfer window. I haven't seen anything that really convinced me that they're going to be a good challenger this year. And so to see them pick off a 1-0 win against Burnley is kind of like, I find that less of a good thing for West Brom, more of a bad thing for Burnley. Because if they're not able to win games like this, I don't see any chance of them finding themselves relatively safe. Obviously, first week a win against Chelsea was a big deal for them, but this is one they should have won. This is one where you should automatically get the 3 points. You're at home, you're against West Brom, who's just kind of an average team. And so to lose here, that's a big 3 points lost. So obviously it kind of balances out. You didn't expect to get points from Chelsea, you did. You expect to get points against West Brom, you don't. So it does balance themselves out. But if results like this keep happening, I see them struggling with relegation. But as far as West Brom, like I said, I already expect them to be mid-table. I already expect them to win some games that they probably don't have any business winning. So I don't see that changing anything for West Brom. But Burnley, it is kind of scary for them. Bournemouth, Watford. Bournemouth really surprised me so far. I'm one of the ones that called them to do pretty well this season. 2 losses in a row. I mean, first one against West Brom, not a good result. Second one against Watford at home, definitely not a good result. I mean, Watford's a team that some people have called to go down, and you can't even get a goal against them. And you didn't score last week either. And I just don't know. Obviously, you can't watch the game anymore because NBC won't show it on their app anymore. But the fact that you're not scoring and you went and got Defoe over the summer, I mean, there's something wrong there. You've got to change up the system. You've got to move some people around because King was a goal-scoring threat last season. Defoe was a goal-scoring threat at a team like Sunderland where they really didn't have much of anything. So the fact that neither of them can get any goals, and then on top of that you're conceding against teams like Watford and West Brom, there's a problem here. So I don't know what's going on with Bournemouth. I don't know if they're struggling to find their feet, if maybe Defoe hasn't had a chance to integrate himself into the team. I don't know what it is, but they need to start picking up some results or else they're going to be in danger of being in that relegation battle. Watford, on the other hand, though, I mean, that's a draw against Liverpool and now winning away against Bournemouth. That's 2 good results for them back-to-back. So I think they've put any sort of worry of relegation at ease in the first couple games. Now, can they continue these results? That remains to be seen. If they manage to pick up another couple wins in these next couple weeks, I see them doing fairly well and managing to stay about mid-table this year. So we'll see what happens from them, but Bournemouth definitely needs to step up. Stoke versus Arsenal, obviously one of the more shocking results of the weekend. I mean, especially for me, somebody who really didn't call Stoke to do well at all this year, they've shown that they can still handle themselves. They can still do it even without Arnautovic, and that's something that I wasn't sure if they were going to be able to do. I didn't know if they could do it without Arnautovic, and even Walters to some extent. But winning 1-0 to Arsenal, even though Arsenal probably should have had a goal, but it was called offsides. They probably should have had a penalty, but the ref said no. So you kind of look at those things and say, yeah, maybe they don't deserve the 3 points, but at the same time, they still managed to hold out for a win, even if there was some help from the referees. That's still a good result for them. And it's something where last week they did pretty well against an Everton side that we saw today is a very good Everton side. I mean, they managed to only hold them to 1-0 at Everton Stadium. So it's just, you look at these 2 results, and even though Saturday they were lucky, that's still a win against Arsenal, and that's still another good performance from them. Good defensively, they're getting a couple now they're going to get a goal from Jesse Rodriguez, their new signing. I mean, things are looking up for Stoke. So probably don't have them in relegation anymore. That's probably now Brighton. Let's see. I'll go Brighton, Burnley, and Bournemouth right now based on the first 2 weeks of results. Those are my 3 to go down. I think Stoke has now pushed themselves out of relegation and into about mid-table. So, yeah, very impressive from them. Arsenal, typical Arsenal. Just even if they were unlucky not to get a couple goals, it still shows that Stoke can get a goal on them. It still shows that they concede again. It's just typical Arsenal. It's what happens. They do well in preseason. They get one big signing that everybody gets excited for. The first sign of trouble, though, things look iffy. Things look like oh no, something's wrong here. So, yeah, it's pretty much exactly what I've come to expect from them. First game on Sunday, Huddersfield versus Newcastle. I already talked a little bit in my Chelsea review about Craig Pawson being the referee there, and no yellows or red cards for some challenges that got Cahill red first week. But anyway, but yeah, got to watch most of that game, and from what I saw, I mean, didn't get to watch Huddersfield the first week when they beat Palace, but watching them against Newcastle, they look ready and raring to go. The question is now, can they continue this consistent just pressure, high-intensity play? Probably not. It's something we saw last year with Hull as well. They went off, won their first 2 opening games, and then from there just started dropping off because they couldn't keep up that intensity. So not really surprised to see them get off to a high start, but Newcastle, I think, really needed to get something out of this game. And they put in a decent performance, but from what I see, I mean, there's just there's this lack of effort from some of the players, and it's really one of the people that I work with, one of the guys I work with. He's a Newcastle fan, and I just know I'm probably gonna go talk to him today. He's probably just gonna be frustrated with some of the players that there's a lack of effort from, and that's something he said whenever they first went down. He's like, there's just no effort there. Honestly, if they can get more players like Matt Ritchie in who are willing to work and work and work. I mean, he's one of the two or three players that I'm just like, if they manage to stay up, it's going to be because of Matt Ritchie, a player like him who just never stops. So obviously another bad result for them, but I still see them doing okay because I can't imagine Rafa Benitez is going to allow this to continue. I think he makes some changes. A couple players that aren't performing now have to sit the bench. If you want to play again, show me you want to earn your spot back. That's just all what I assume. I don't know if this is actually going to happen or if they're just going to continue to drop off, but they definitely are in danger of slowly slipping away and becoming Sunderland from last year with just no chance of getting back into it. The Spurs-Chelsea game, I already talked about that from a Chelsea point of view, but as far as what it means for both teams, I think obviously for Chelsea it's a big step in the right direction. It shows all the people that were saying that there's some sort of problem at Chelsea. Maybe it's another Mourinho season. This result shows that there's still a fight and desire there. It's not going to be another Mourinho season because they still got the quality. They still got all these players that can still do it at a high level, and you don't even have Hazard and you don't have Fabregas. So there's still quality there, but like I said in my Chelsea review, unless they can pick up a few players, once we start getting into the Champions League spots and the League Cup and the FA Cup, that's when I think the form will start to dip unless we can get players as backup for our starting 11. But for Spurs, I don't think this result is a huge deal for them. Obviously started off with a win. To lose against Chelsea is not the end of the world for them. I do think a lot of the focus has been on the whole Wembley curse. They've lost their last 4 out of 6 at Wembley. Is it going to be a tough year for them? I already thought they were going to struggle a little bit at first because of the new stadium. But ultimately, their performance was really good. They still put a lot of pressure on, still had a few really good chances, a little bit unlucky not to finish them. So I don't think a loss is the end of the world for them. I still think they do okay this season, but they need to make sure that it doesn't become kind of a mentality thing. Like whenever they play at home, they need to make sure that it's not like oh no, we're at Wembley again. Is this going to be another year where we struggle because we can't win at home because it's Wembley? They just need to push past that, get that mentality out of their minds, and just push on and say, who cares where we play? We're going to play. We're going to go to win. But I still see them doing well this season. And then the one that just happened today, Man City-Everton. Both of them, I thought, unlucky with the red cards. Kyle Walker, his first challenge for the yellow was dangerous, so I think it was worthy enough of a yellow. But the second one, he just looked back to where he was. The shoulder did hit Calvert-Lewin in the chin, so I understand why he went to ground. But the referee should see there's no elbow raised, there's nothing there, so it shouldn't be a second yellow. Schneiderlin, in my opinion, Aguero bought him the second yellow by putting his foot in the way. He slides in. Yes, he does kind of catch Aguero, but he mainly gets the ball. Honestly, the touch was nothing. Aguero just flops to ground, and the referee just falls for it. So I thought it was unlucky for both Walker and Schneiderlin on their second yellows. But overall, as far as performances go, obviously Man City still look like they're just fully attack. Put so many chances in, had a lot of great chances that they could not finish because that's what we saw last year. How many times last year did they put in chance after chance after chance after chance after chance and they cannot finish? And I just find it so funny that a side under Pep Guardiola that's so focused on attacking has players that cannot finish. As good as Aguero is, for some reason he just can't finish. And it's killing them. And that's honestly why they're going to lose or draw most of their games, because they don't have people up there who can finish the chances for whatever reason. And on top of that, we saw defensively how many times did Calvert-Lewin, what is he, like 18 or 19 years old? He's just a kid. And you put him up top, and he is absolutely tearing their defense apart just from his speed alone because they're so attack-focused. As soon as they lose the ball, he's in a ton of space because the defense is sitting there like, oh, we got to give support for the ball. not thinking what happens when we lose it. Don't we need to go track that guy? And so Calvert-Lewin finds himself in a ton of space, and now it's dangerous for Man City, and now Everton's breaking on them. So once again, it's just the teams that are going to break on them, the teams that are going to counterattack on them, are going to be the teams that are going to win games against them, and teams are going to tie against them. So just once again, in my opinion, Pep Guardiola's system does not work in the Premier League. It may work in leagues like La Liga and Bundesliga whenever you're the top team in the league, whenever you've only got one or two challengers in the league. But whenever you've got a league like the Premier League where there are 5 or 6 challenges for the title and all the teams below are still quality teams that fight to get out of relegation because they know relegation is a very serious factor for them, I just see the teams out battling them. I see teams that are going to want it and desire it more, and they're just going to poke it off their defense. They're going to fight hard. They're going to run all over them. Yeah, they may get 20 chances. Yeah, they may have 80% of possession, but all the other team needs is 20 possession that leads to a goal, and all of a sudden they've won the game. So, in my opinion, it's a step in the right direction for Everton. Obviously, they'll be disappointed to give away that late goal. Holgate, who I thought was good for most of the game, will be disappointed in himself for heading it right to Sterling. But I still think the draw is a good result for them. They would probably taken it before the game even started. But for Man City, it's just another example of kind of like last week where they struggled for most of the game against Brighton, and it took near the end of the game before they finally managed to get one in. It just shows that they're going to struggle again this season. They're not going to be able to put a couple teams away, and that's going to hurt them. So that's about it for all my thoughts this weekend. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Who is the biggest winner this weekend? Who's the biggest loser this weekend? Let me know. We can talk about and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Premier League reviews. I'll see you guys next week. Peace out.